Great. So thanks for joining. We are going to do a meditation for Pride Month, a little bit around what pride means. And kind of the first thing that I thought of when I heard that was that pride is like the perfect antidote to shame. And I think everyone carries a lot of shame, but especially queer and trans folk. And I thought this would be a really lovely space to sort of like get in touch with and notice those parts of shame that we do carry with us and maybe treat them with a little bit more compassion than we usually would. We're usually really judgmental and we want to like cast those parts away. So we're going to work on kind of like welcoming them in and um, noticing how that shame with some compassion can shift to some pride and resilience too. So thanks for joining. We will get started just by settling into your space. So if you are sitting in a chair, just noticing your feet on the ground, noticing how heavy your seat is, how you can fully relax into the support of that seat, how you can let go of some tension, maybe especially in your hips when you're sitting. If you're sitting on the ground, pulling yourself up nice and straight, like there's like a string kind of pulling you up from the bottom of your spine to the top, and allowing yourself to get just a little bit more relaxed. I like to ask myself, how could I make myself 1% more relaxed? And if I notice a space of tension, just to breathe into it. And some tension is necessary to hold ourselves upright, but a lot of it isn't. And seeing if we can just breathe into that and loosen just a bit. So now that we're a little bit more settled, maybe slowing your gaze or closing your eyes completely, just starting to cut off those cords from the outside world, knowing that you're giving yourself this next 20 minutes or so to just be with yourself. The outside world will certainly be there. This is just for you. You can almost imagine like energy that you've put out into the world for others to start calling that back to yourself. Maybe imagine those energy ties being cords that you allow yourself to just cut a bit, or just sucking that energy back in for yourself and noticing that you only have to be present with your own mind and body in this space. And just bringing your attention to your breath, not trying to change anything yet, just noticing the inhale. Maybe it's warm during this heat wave of New York. Maybe it's cool. Just noticing the in breath and the out breath too. Just bring your attention to that, starting to turn more and more inward. Maybe focusing on the quality of that breath, the air that's coming in and leaving your body. You can focus at the tip of your nose or the edge of your lips if you're breathing through your mouth. Just notice the texture of that breath. Does it feel humid? Does it feel dry, warm, cool? And smell like anything? Just beginning this process of being slightly curious about what's going on around you. We'll start few rounds of square breathing to just start to modify the breath to maybe help us with this relaxation, this going internal. So we'll do 4 counts on the inhale, 4 counts holding at the top, 4 counts exhale, and 4 counts holding at the bottom. So we can begin by exhaling all of the air with a sh sound. And inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, and exhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, empty, 3, 4, inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, and exhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, empty, 3, 4, inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, and exhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, and exhale, 2, 3, 4, and just returning to your normal breath. Noticing if anything's changed. Maybe your inhale has slowed. Maybe there's a micro hold at the peak and valley of the breath that you've never quite noticed before. Just take this next minute to be present with your breath and to breathe into any tense parts of the body, parts of your body that are holding that don't necessarily need to. Just be present, this quiet. Now just slowly begin to bring your attention, that inward eye, to your solar plexus. So kind of like right beneath your rib cage, almost behind your diaphragm. Just notice that part of you. Physically, is it tense? Do you hold that a lot? Notice if you feel like you're kind of caved in around it, if you feel sunken in that place. You notice that, just try to lift out of that part. Imagine there's a light there. Maybe it's quite dim in the beginning, but with every inhale, that light expands and it opens and it relaxes that part of you. And allow it to shift the rest of your body. You might notice allowing your belly to be nice and big on the inhales. You might notice your shoulders start to lift and fall back, almost like your rib cage lifts so that that solar plexus can really shine and shine forward. This is our third chakra, which I'm forgetting the Sanskrit name of now, but third chakra is where we hold a lot of our identity, but like our self-identity, you know, when we're alone, how we view ourselves, which doesn't mean there's no social implications, but it's that internalized sense of self. It's by bringing our attention there, we can start to use our body to tune into what might be happening in our mind, to that connection. Don't always have to talk and theorize our way into change. Sometimes we can shift our bodies somatically and notice changes too. Just continue relaxing the solar plexus, allowing it to lift, to expand. Imagining that light shining forward, almost like if you were walking, it's like pulling you forward like a rope. It's kind of like we say to lead with an open chest, but that really should extend down to our bellies too, to the solar plexus. And just be silent with that space for a bit. Just notice if there's any emotions coming up as you make those slight shifts. What energy are you opening up in your body? What emotions might be there? Maybe there's a freedom. Maybe there's a sadness that you've been holding there. You might notice a smile creep up on your face. You should let it if it's there. Now that we've come into our bodies, spent some space there, some space and time, I'm gonna move into a bit of a visualization. So first, try to just clear your mind. There might have been some thoughts or images that came in. Just try to clear it. There'll be a blank slate for us to begin. And I want you to imagine some sort of like wide, open, expansive space, which looks really different for everyone. Could be a great big field or a wild meadow, ocean, the beach, maybe the desert. Whatever is coming to you, your imagination. Maybe it's more abstract. Maybe it's just a big white room or something like that. Just a wide, open space that feels as safe and peaceful as you can welcome in. And imagine you're there. Take in what's around you. Maybe what's beneath you, what's in front of you, what's behind you, above you. Really imagine yourself there and grounded in that space. Just as relaxed as you are, just as present as you are, but in this wide, open, expansive space. From this sort of like empty container, I want us to call in the parts of you that you might feel some shame around. So shame is the parts of us that we deem kind of like socially unacceptable, something that we feel is like wrong, or maybe we think that we're broken in some way. This could be something about your personality, something about your identity, maybe your sexuality, maybe your gender identity, gender expression. Just some parts of you that typically you don't like to look at. Things that you want to cast away. We're going to do something different here. And in our mind's eye, we're just welcoming in these parts and see how they show up. They might show up as different versions of you. And if that's true, maybe notice how they're dressed, what they look like, how old they are. Could be animals in that space. Just start to kind of visualize what these different parts might look like in this imaginal scenario. You aren't talking with them yet, they're just kind of showing up in the space. And we're just noticing visually what they look like. And focus on identifying these different parts. Just really place them there and say, okay, this is this part that I feel shame about. This is my sexual orientation, or this is my people pleasing, or this is my trauma, or this is my younger self, right? Just imagine them as separate entities as much as you can, different parts of yourself, all of which have this sort of like shameful piece, something that we kind of cast away, try to hide from others, or something that we're really insecure about. And usually, when we look at these parts of ourselves, we feel some level of disgust, which is hard to say, but it's true. And instead of expressing disgust towards these parts, I want to see if we can express some compassion. So maybe choosing just one, whatever's the most present part, shameful part that we're calling in, and working with that. But if you can't really decide, you could do two or maybe three. Just might be harder to focus. And rather than kind of like push them away, like we do a lot mentally, I want you to imagine kind of like opening your arms to them. Not necessarily embracing or moving towards them or even inviting that, but just creating this openness. They're there, and you're present and grounded, and you aren't judging them. It's wide open arms. Notice what feelings come up. Is this scary? Is this a bit of a release? Is this hard to do? Are you finding yourself not wanting to open your arms? See if there's any part of you that can open up just a little bit more to the shameful part. And stay with that as much as you can. And notice what you're wanting to do. You know, maybe there's a real sadness in seeing how much that part has been neglected or pathologized or pushed away. Maybe seeing what it needs. Does it need permission? Does it need to be embraced? Does it need space? Just noticing it there. and how you want to interact with it in a more positive light, in a more compassionate light. Might be hard, but change comes from hard things. And just staying with the part. It can be hard to stay with these parts, but you're doing well. Notice how, by being compassionate with this part, what is that doing for your sense of self? Do you feel more accepting of this part? Do you feel a sense of relief? Maybe some freedom? Maybe it's confusing. That's okay too. Maybe this is new and it's weird and you aren't sure how it feels. I'd imagine that when we look at a shameful part and we treat it with some compassion and love and acceptance and steadiness, it starts to transform it a bit. It's no longer so cut and clear this thing that we don't like. It might be this thing that's a lot more complicated, and that's not all about you. It might be about other people's expectations or society's expectations or values or systemic oppression, rather than some like flaw of yours. And by you reclaiming that part of yourself, you're coming one step closer to feeling that pride and that authenticity of integrating that part. So to start moving out of this visualization exercise, you can envision yourself saying goodbye to this part, but telling it that it won't be abandoned again, that you'll come back to it, and that you'll treat it with the same kindness, and that all of its friends that were probably there at the beginning that you didn't quite get to, you can get to them in future exercises like this, in therapy, in your thoughts, that they'll be taken care of too, won't be neglected, that you're there for them, that they don't have to hide or minimize themselves. With that departure, start to come back into your body. You know, notice that like solar plexus area. By encountering some of that shame, did we start to cave over it again? Did we start to minimize it? Did we start to shrink ourselves? If so, let's open that up again. Notice that light that's there. Notice any sort of confidence that you might feel entering your body. Maybe you're sitting up straighter. Maybe you're a little bit more relaxed, right? Just noticing any physical shifts from that. And I'll leave this quiet for about a minute or so just to integrate all of this, to come back to this, come back to your breath. Just allow it all to integrate. And now to conclude some of this, we're going to end with some nice, long, deep breaths. So we'll count 8 in breath and 8 out breath. So again, exhale with the sound of shh. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Now you can just start to come back into your body, maybe inviting some gentle movement into your toes, into your fingers, thanking yourself for giving yourself this time to just tune inwards. Maybe you start to flutter the eyes open, maybe rub your thighs a bit. Just start to come back to the present moment.